Disney's Tangled may be one of the more popular recent Disney movies, but you may have realized early on that its theme says something about abuse through the lens of a child and parent relationship. Not only that, its messages can be applied to other kinds of relationships. While some may argue that a kids' movie isn't exactly the most appropriate kind of media to talk about a subject as heavy as this, Tangled does a surprisingly great job. It offers the audience a clear and nuanced look at the subject. It touches on things like love and guilt, as well as how both of those things can make it hard for a person to leave, even if they're able to. So, not only is it a cute, fun, family movie, it's also a genuine and successful commentary of a touchy subject.
Haven't any of you ever had a dream?
Love. Gothel, Rapunzel's super cool and totally not crazy mother, may or may not really love Rapunzel, but that's beside the point. The important thing is that she makes her daughter believe she loves her. She sells herself well, and so Rapunzel trusts her, and why wouldn't she?
Would you sing for me, dear? Then we'll talk.
Trusting our parents or caregivers comes naturally. They brought us into the world, so why wouldn't they fight to make sure we're happy in it? But Gothel doesn't care. She's only interested in the healing abilities Rapunzel possesses because she can't accept the fact that with age comes wrinkles. So it's a one-sided relationship, and it's dangerous and unfair. While Rapunzel sees her mom as, well, a mom, Gothel sees Rapunzel as an object for her to use. On the few occasions she shows her daughter affection, her hands seem to be glued to Rapunzel's hair because that's the only bit of her she values. Rapunzel doesn't realize Gothel doesn't love her because she's got no way of knowing that the loving gestures and bonds they share aren't reciprocal. When she sings while her mom brushes her hair, she doesn't know her mother only cares about its magical qualities. She doesn't realize something is wrong because that's her mother. She's funny, even a little rude, and she's open with telling Rapunzel she loves her.
I love you very much, dear.
She presents herself as someone Rapunzel can trust, and she fills Rapunzel's head with lies. She tells her there's men with pointy teeth and thugs and thieves waiting to get their hand on her hair, so keeping her locked up seems reasonable, commendable even. What Gothel wasn't counting on was the fact that Rapunzel's trusting nature wasn't limited to just her. As soon as she decided that Flynn wasn't a monster out for her locks, she immediately tasked him with taking her to see the floating lights she'd spent her life dreaming of.
Take me to these lanterns and return me home safely.
Because she, to her knowledge, had never been betrayed. She just assumed this stranger would be a fine guy to lead her far away from home and back. While her trusting and naive nature may be sweet and endearing, it's also unsafe and can lead someone to a bad situation or to trusting the wrong person. Like Gothel. The movie shows us the rocky terrain kids in this situation must traverse. It's a very confusing landscape, like they're constantly being misled by the person supposed to be guiding them. Kids trust their parents even when they've been lied to. Rapunzel did, and that's why she didn't try leaving sooner. It's also why she felt so guilty when she did.
I am a despicable human being.
Guilt. After leaving the tower, Rapunzel went through a flurry of emotions. First and foremost, excitement. As soon as her feet touched the grass, she broke out into song, much to Flynn's dismay. But that unbridled joy soon gave way to a crushing sense of guilt. She wondered if she was a bad person for leaving.
I am a horrible daughter. I'm going back.
At this point in the movie, Rapunzel still hadn't seen much of the outside world. She was out of town, away from people. As far as she knew, she betrayed her mother and put herself in danger, all for some fancy lights. That sense of guilt followed her throughout the film. When she and her future husband got trapped in a cavern and nearly drowned in it, she blamed herself. She said she never should have left, and that Gothel was right.
She was right. I never should have done this.
She carried the guilt for that long, even after seeing her mother's lies. Like how most of the people she met were kind, even the scary ones. And not a single person had tried to steal her hair. So even though she saw that Gothel was wrong, she still felt guilty. Oftentimes, when people sever ties with their abusers, there's a lot of guilt that goes on inside. Unpleasant feelings about hurting those you love go along with leaving. Tangled shows us that this guilt is a natural side effect of taking the first steps into a new life without abuse, and it shows us how one might question whether or not they should have left.
You're too naive to be here.
Especially when the abuser has sown seeds of doubt into their victim like Gothel did to Rapunzel. Doubt. Abusers often use doubt in real life to keep their victims close. Gothel made Rapunzel feel small against the world.
Why would he like you? Come on now, really?
But she made herself seem big. She made herself seem like a worldly woman with all the answers and knowledge her daughter could ever need. Gothel could handle herself, and according to her, Rapunzel could not. This best illustrated by her song, Mother Knows Best, that she sings several times. She even sings it when she lures Rapunzel back to her after trapping Flynn. Rapunzel heard that small refrain and ran back to her mother's arms, feeling dumb for trying to leave. Guilt and doubt can make it hard for the victim to cut ties with the abuser, especially in the case of a child and a parent.
I tried to warn you what was out there.
And while many people are able to leave, many others are not, and it's a lot harder for a child to do that. A child might not even realize they've been wronged. Point of view. Rapunzel had spent almost her whole life locked away. She didn't know what the world was like beyond her window. Isolation was her normal, and abuse can be the normal for children in these situations. Kids have no point of reference for what normal really is for the first few years of their lives, and so it can take time for them to realize they're being mistreated. It's hard to spot abuse when it's presented as just how life is.
All of this is as it should be.
It could take many years to see the truth. I mean, it took Rapunzel 18, but all that time she held on to hope. And sometimes that's all someone has. Hope. Pascal isn't just a chameleon, he's also a philosopher and the creator of Pascal's wager, which basically states that it's better to believe in something than nothing, because if you do, you can spend your life happy, even if you're wrong. Rapunzel believed in the lights. They gave her hope and a reason.
Sit. This is a very big day, Pascal.
They saved her from apathy. Lucky for her, it wasn't just the lights waiting out there. There was grass to be felt, guards to be outrun, adventure and kingdoms, and most importantly, there was Flynn Rider. A new dream. Flynn was the first link to her new life. He was her new dream, and they fell in love, which proved to her that there was still love to be had outside of abuse. He showed her that she wasn't alone, and so she left for good. Flynn helped her understand that there were ties and bonds to be had with people besides her mother. Tangled tells us that it's important for victims to have ties besides the abusers, because the feeling of being isolated would make it hard to stay away. But it also shows us that we can make new relationships with new people, and they can be healthy relationships.
You never left that tower.
Rapunzel saw that Mother Gothel wasn't the only person in the world to love her, and that she was honestly, probably, the last person in the world she would want to love her. And she saw that love would come after freedom. Forging new relationships, making new dreams, can help victims of abuse leave. Rapunzel did. Wrap up. While it may just be a kid's movie, Tangled is packed with a powerful lesson that can be appreciated at any age. It was a movie that had something to say and made sure to say it well. It shows its audience that abuse can be covert.
I will never stop trying to get away from you.
It can come wrapped as care, and it's not always easy to spot, and often is seemingly impossible to leave. But Rapunzel did it, and we rooted for her throughout the film. And by rooting for her, we root for others trapped in their own towers. But what do you think? What did you take from Tangled's messaging? Let us know. Make sure to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the morality of the characters in your favorite cartoons and movies. But most importantly, stay wicked.